Thanks, Mike. Wow. I don't want to tell you what I do every day. First off, Mike, thank you very much. I got a call from Lieutenant Chris Hanslick. I don't know if some of you know him. I'm sure you do. And he said, hey, we'd like you to come up to the Sentinels of Freedom. I honestly hadn't heard of it. So I immediately Googled, because Google has the answer to everything, and found out that this organization is stellar. And I actually got a little excited. And then he told me, yeah, they're honoring the Coast Guard, and we're going to have 2 guest speakers. I'm like, outstanding. Who are they? And it's Admiral Z and you. Kind of want to run off right now. My extent of public speaking is standing in front of the schoolhouse and teaching 36 like-minded aviators that it's okay to go get beat to death in the 20-foot seas, and that cave won't kill you. You can go in it and out, and I'll take you in there and show you how. So a little about me. You know, Mike said he Googled the Coast Guard, and somehow I came up. Super glad that in the 90s there wasn't a lot of digital, so the good things came up, and that's it. You know, I'll jump around, and I guarantee I will forget half the things, but one thing I would like to point out. I have gotten to stand up a couple times and say some things, but I always forget the most important person, and that is my wife, Brandy. So check one, wherever that list is. I got it. I'm good. I finally did it, and I'm happy. I'm a country boy. I literally grew up 45 miles southeast of the Dalles, Oregon. I worked on a ranch with my dad, and to go into the Coast Guard, right, okay. So one day we're getting in there, and if I start telling too many stories, yeah, just give me the cut. I'll get to the video. It's cool. I like it. It's fun. But, you know, one day I took the ASVAB, the test to join the military. Why? Because it got me out of a health test. I thought it was a pretty good bonus. If you don't know what that is, if you ever open up spam email, it's very similar. As soon as you take it, everybody's calling you. And I wanted to be an aviator. That was the time of Top Gun. You know, who didn't want to fly jet fighters for the Navy? It was the coolest thing ever. Little did I know, the guy rescuing Mav when they crashed was a helicopter rescue swimmer, and I was more along those lines. I didn't know that at the time. I found that out later. The Coast Guard guy, the recruiter, sold me. He sold me because he told a young 17-year-old kid, we would love to have you, but we don't need you. And after being told that, gee, I thought the Navy was going to sink and the Army wouldn't be able to do anything without me, because that's what the recruiters were telling me, I'm like, there's no way that you don't need me, and I'm going to prove that you do. So off I went to the Coast Guard. So it was a 3-year wait, 36 months to be able to go be a helicopter rescue swimmer, which, by the way, when you're told by the recruiter that you can drive boats, fix boats, or jump out of helicopters, that jumping out of helicopters thing seemed pretty cool. So I was right on that line, and I was willing to wait the 36 months. So to keep a long story longer or short, I did join. I made it through 6 months of school, loved every bit of it. Not really. I was really happy when I got done. And I went down to Mobile, Alabama. And from there, I've been able to stay relatively operational and jump around. I've got to experience a lot, and the Coast Guard has let me do that, and I love it. I stood duty in Savannah, Georgia, Mobile, Alabama. I got to fly through, literally through hurricanes. Thank God it was my first flight through a big storm, and I thought that was normal. When we got back and the pilots looked like they were about to vomit, I realized maybe that wasn't normal, and I should probably reconsider my flight status when we're out there. So ignorance is bliss. I can back that up. So after a couple of hurricanes, I was able to take a part in the Fargo floods in '97, Hurricane Floyd out of North Carolina, was able to do some stuff down there. And then went to Savannah, Georgia. And in Savannah, Georgia, that's where I really got what I considered, what I believed to be the Coast Guard rescue swimmer case. Offshore, at night, 20-foot seas, 3 guys in a raft. So I deployed out. Our pilot, Jason Church, I remember my crew vividly. They did an outstanding job. But here I am, this young rescue swimmer. Middle of the night, there's a raft, 20-foot seas. This is cool. This is like literally what we all look forward to. And then I swim up to this raft, and I open the door, and there's 3 guys. And one of them's sitting on the edge smoking a cigarette. There's some words I'd like to throw into this story. I mean, fill them in yourself. But more along the lines of, holy crap, what are you doing? Put that out. Granted, the cigarette isn't going to punch a raft and make it sleep, but a little odd to me. So I told them what we were going to get ready to do, and they all looked at me like I was a little insane. And I was going to drag them out one at a time, put them in a basket, and send them up to the helicopter. That's when they looked at me and asked if they should put on their life jacket. Yes, that would probably be a pretty good idea. Put on your life jacket. Again, some additives I'd like to throw in there, but I didn't. Then they informed me they only had one. So my day was going downhill, and it was great. So needless to say, we got them all back. From Savannah, I was, again, lucky. And let me say this. When I say lucky, at least me, and I think I'm speaking for most of my rescue swimmer, my aviator brethren, I'm sure my boat force brethren as well, we're not happy to be there because people are in trouble. We just want to be the guy that's on duty when they're in trouble. Okay, that's so I hate to stand up here and say that I was lucky because I got a case where I was able to rescue some people because they were in need, but I just throw that in there. So from Savannah, I actually went out of rate and became an aerial gunner and went to our helicopter interdiction tactical squadron down in Jacksonville, Florida. And I got to do counter narcotics. And let me tell you what, for a kid who grew up in the back of a pickup truck, doing whatever, running around with guns, shooting go-fast boats out of the back of a helicopter was pretty cool. I mean, they handed me this thing called a Barrett. Like, oh, 50 cal. This is awesome. What were they thinking? I have no idea. But I loved it. Ended up getting about 5 busts there, a little over 4.5 metric tons of coke. And I'm pretty proud of that. That was a great part of the Coast Guard for me. So a second reason that I went to Jacksonville, Florida was you get a priority out of there. And I spent 12 years in the Southeast being from Oregon. It is hot and humid. I did meet Brandy there, so I got to love the place just a little bit. But I wanted to get back to the Pacific Northwest. It is where the big cases are. It's where the heavy seas are. It's where I get to do what I signed up to do. So, lo and behold, we get Astoria, Oregon. 6 months after getting back to Astoria, Oregon, getting qualified back up in the aircraft as a rescue swimmer again. I don't know if any of you know, but the December 7th storm, or December 3rd storm of 2007, hit the Pacific Northwest. A little over 100-knot winds, big seas, and the town of Chehalis, Washington, was unaware or unprepared for the levees to break, and they ended up breaking, and essentially we had our mini Katrina in the Pacific Northwest. Again, I say lucky enough, I made it into medical. I got my upchit. I think I had the sniffles. And they came in and gave me my upchit, and off we went. Took off behind the hangar deck because the 100-knot winds were a little too much to be taken off right out in the wind line. So we took off and headed up the gorge. And, you know, flying along, it was a lot like going through the hurricane the first time, only this time I knew that that wasn't right. It was a little more frightening. So we hit the corridor and headed north up the I-5 corridor. And throughout the night, ended up picking 39 people up. I think a couple of the ones that at least I would like to note were lucky enough, scared enough to pick up a couple of 3-year-olds that were with their family in different spots. And what made it scary was the fact that I had my 3-year-old sitting home with Brandy, blacked out because we were out of power running on generator. And so between that and then a young lady who had gotten herself wedged between a tree line and a barn, by far the most prepared person I have ever rescued, heard about rescuing or anything. I get deployed down. She is on the roof of the car wearing complete rain gear, SOS flashing on her headlamp. I mean, she had better gear than I did coming out of the plane. It was a little ridiculous. I changed that when I got back to the shop. So I disconnected, I made my way over to her, and I picked her up. And we carry what's called a quick strap. And I slid it around underneath her backpack. It was all she had left, and I wasn't gonna leave it there. She pretty much brought everything she had. And then her and I made our way out in the swift water. And as we were going out in the swift water, the helicopter's overhead about 100 feet up due to the trees. There's some heavy water running through, and she lost her footing. And so I, in turn, went down into a mercy, grab the earth, claw what I can position, and try to keep us stable. And my flight mech, Adam Mayhew, who is a genius and a miracle worker, threw the hoist hook right in front of my face. I mean, it literally was right there. I hooked up, and up we went. Not a big deal. I could be in swift water. It didn't really matter. But as we turn around and look, 2 barbed wire fences are right behind us. So ignorance is bliss, yet again. Thank God I didn't know, so I didn't have to worry about it. So from there, I got sent down to the stand team. And the stand team, believe it or not, it's an honorable position. I love it. You get to affect change on the rate, on your job, on your profession. And to be able to do that is phenomenal. Really, the reason we went down is because I need to get Brandy a nursing degree because I'm getting close to the end of my career and she's got to be my sugar mama. But she has literally chased this degree throughout our entire career. And this time it was there are 4 schools down there. We are going down there, but the only way I'm going to Mobile is the stand team. So at the stand team, I did get to instruct the Advanced Helicopter Rescue School, a highlight of my career. We get to take the aviators that know what they're doing and put them into the worst stuff that they can imagine in as much as we would like to call a controlled environment. 18 to 20 foot seas, breaking surf, vertical surface where we rescue off the cliffside, and we even take the guys in the cave. At the same time, one of our new programs involved rescue watercraft, funny name for jet skis for rescue swimmers. I wish we could all get issued one. Admiral, we could talk about that later. But it literally is a way that we can provide cover. I became a jet ski operator, rescue watercraft operator, and an instructor. Again, another highlight of my career. And this comes in here in a little bit when we get ready to play this video. From there, I was sent back up to Astoria. Kind of my twilight tour. We're going to see how that plays out. Again, less than a year being stationed there, here I am, I'm on duty, I'm a chief. I pull the duty on I think a Monday, and we're up in Grays Harbor doing some training flight. About 2.5 hours after our training flight, we wrap up, we get a call that a young girl, 17 years old, had fallen into the water at the Punch Bowl in Pacific City. And this is gonna lead up to the video that we're about to play. So, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm getting off at 3 o'clock. Well, I'm not getting off at 3. We're going back and getting gas, and we're gonna go find this girl. So we stop by, we're a little low on fuel, 65 pilots. That means we've been flying a lot longer than you have. I don't know if there are any in here, but they got about 2 hours of fuel, and we're looking at like 6 if we fill it up. So we stopped and got a little bit more gas, and down we go. At the time, there was nothing we could do. She had been in the water for over an hour, and we knew we were kind of on a recovery. Not to bring the crowd down on this, but we decided that we were going to search the shoreline. As we were, we had another rescue asset that was out there doing their best to search as well. And that rescue asset was Pacific City Fire and Rescue on a jet ski with 2 men. They had made their way into the surf, and it was breaking 20 foot on the shoreline with a pretty heavy rock face. Well, one of the individuals, the individual on the back, ends up, he's holding on to the back of the jet ski, kneeling on the board, the rescue board that tows behind it. And they took a pretty heavy wave. He impacted his face. Into the water he goes. The next wave came in and actually threw the operator off of the jet ski. And my pilot says, hey, I think we're switching gears. We're about to go into a rescue for these 2 individuals. So I'm sitting in the back operating our FLIR, looking into the caves. And now we go from searching for a possible female in the water to rescuing 2 individuals that are on a shoreline getting pounded by the surf. At that point in time, we kind of shift into a shuffle in the back of the plane. Usually we do a brief on our stuff. Our brief ended up about 30 seconds of, I'm getting my stuff on, we're gonna do this, this, and this, and out the door I got ready to go. And that's where the video is gonna pick up. So, that's what we do every day. I kind of wish. I'm not gonna lie. You know, there's a couple people. Dave Corsino is the one you hear talking most of the time. That's my hoist operator, and you know, I got to credit the pilots and the flight mechs. You know, swimmers tend to get a lot of the glory. We're the guy on the end of the hook. We're the one everybody sees, but they bring us home every day. Whether it's a training flight or not. Without those guys, I wouldn't be going home to see my kids. So credit to them, huge credit to them. Yeah, that's there's a couple things, that's it. Sorry.
Well, Chief, that's really helps us understand what all the whole package, you know, ships, air, but it's really people that make things happen, that save lives, and so we commend you and thank you for that. And we have a couple of things we'd like to give you from our community and our foundation, and this one is made out to you for our meritorious and heroic military service to our nation, the United States Coast Guard, from Sentinels of Freedom, and we hope you will hang that in a place of honor. Absolutely. And we have a book for your library up at your Coast Guard station that is signed by our 2 mayors from Danville and San Ramon, that is kind of aerial photography of this whole area, which is quite beautiful. We'd like to send that back so you all can have another addition to your great library. And thank you for your life.